This month, 10 new Omicron variants appeared in China. They are spreading at a fast rate. How is China reacting? China is changing Hong Kong's education in totalitarian ways. University students must take courses on national security, and middle school students must take a study tour in mainland China. Power banks in China secretly broadcast people's lives. A built-in SIM card records sounds within range and tracks movement, sending the data to the seller. The Pentagon is preparing in case the U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi decides to visit Taiwan. The Chinese Communist Party is still threatening the trip. Adenovirus broke out in Sichuan, China. Hundreds of children had high fevers and other symptoms of the potentially deadly disease. Finally, China's new education laws stop students from getting tutors. In response, tutoring has now moved into the black market. Let's get into it. Welcome to Sound of Hope News. My name is Daniela Wolensack, and today is July 28th. 10 Omicron variant strains have been reported in China in the past 20 days. These strains are spreading at a fast rate. A high percentage of infected people are showing symptoms. It has caused financial distress in many areas. The Wuhan Jiangxia District Epidemic Prevention and Control Headquarters issued a notice on the morning of July 27th. It stated that 4 asymptomatic cases were reported in the district. The district will be closed for 3 days, starting at 4 a.m. yesterday. Nearly 1 million people are affected, and operations of all businesses have come to a screeching halt. First Finance and Economics News claimed that all of the variants came from abroad. It argued that each strain had a precedent in other countries. However, epidemiology investigations did not find the source of the viruses. Some Chinese Communist Party experts said that over 90% of the viruses should have been destroyed in the non-stop hot weather. But instead of a decrease, there was a sudden increase in variant strains over the summer. Peak tourist season in Gansu province suffered badly. The Provincial Culture and Tourism Department announced that they will, quote, guard against the epidemic using the strictest measures. They closed over 180 popular tourist spots. The announcement was a harsh blow to tourism operators. The government said that on the 24th, there were 21 new cases in Shenzhen, Guangdong. The government then ordered the top 100 companies to close for 7 days. These include Huawei, ZTE, SMIC, BYD, and Foxconn. Their employees will live in closed-loop management, meaning they have to live, sleep, and work in isolation. Current affairs commentator Mr. Gong said that Shenzhen needed to cut the epidemic off from the source. He then asked, quote, but where exactly is the source of the epidemic? Trying to achieve the government goal of no COVID cases is politically correct right now, but our messed up economy is directly because of it. Sticking to a wrong policy until the end, silencing those who object, extra security before their 20th National Congress, the Communist Party is just trying to hold on to power. China is changing the Hong Kong education system. 8 universities in Hong Kong have made national security a mandatory subject. The Hong Kong government also plans to send middle school students to study in mainland China. People worry that the next generation of Hong Kong children will grow up to be little pinks. Little pinks is a sarcastic term for Chinese youth who blindly support anything the Chinese Communist Party says. At the University of Hong Kong on July 25th, it informed students that in September this year, all students must complete non-credit courses such as the Constitution, the Basic Law, and an introduction to the Hong Kong National Security Law. These designated courses are required to graduate. It's a pity because when the National Security Law was implemented in 2020, Hong Kongers started mass protests against it. The law gave China the power to arrest anyone who spoke out and to shut down many companies. These courses are forcing youth to accept communist rule. On the 25th, Hong Kong Education Bureau officials stated that middle school students must go on a study tour to mainland China at least once. The purpose is to learn about China and develop their sense of national identity. Other topics include national security and the problems with Hong Kong's origins, such as how it was ceded to Britain. They cannot refuse unless they have special permission. Vice Chairman of Hong Kong Zhongzhi, Zheng Jialang, told VOA, quote, "Education in universities is supposed to train students' thinking and critical skills, but national security education has turned universities into brainwashing workshops. This is all information allowed on the university campus. Whether it is about society or politics, no other interpretations are allowed. Any criticism or questioning is prohibited on campus." A former liberal arts teacher, Yang Zijun, told Radio Free Asia, "Hong Kong's education system is going backward. The Hong Kong government will do whatever it takes to accomplish its political mission and turn our students into the so-called little pinks that Hong Kong people often laugh at." Certain power banks in China contain a built-in SIM card that secretly eavesdrops and tracks users. The WeChat user Ban Yuetan broke the story on July 27th. In recent years, these power banks have entered the market. One incident recorded the experience of a man named Mr. Wang from Guiyang, who wished to remain anonymous. He accidentally broke his power bank and took it to a maintenance store for repair. The power bank turned out to have a whole set of eavesdropping and tracking equipment inside. The repairman said that as soon as someone operates it, Mr. Wang's life is broadcast live. In another incident, a reporter heard about these power banks and went online to research. He soon found a website selling them. When he called customer service asking about a power bank that eavesdrops and tracks people, the representative said these can be ordered and made. The store refits dozens a day. The reporter ordered one. After it arrived, instructions said to download an app called GPS 365 on his phone. He logged in with an account and password provided by the seller. The app had pages with tracking functions and ways to access others' contacts and information. Clicking on location showed the trajectory the powered bank had been moved. Selecting voice control in the app automatically recorded any sound within 50 decibels near the power bank. You could also eavesdrop on calls. A regional manager of China Mobile said a SIM card is built into the power bank. It can access the internet through wireless signals. It transmits the data to a designated server. The user sends a request to the server to obtain the precise location and recordings on the SIM card. In China, it's not just power banks that are an issue. Bluetooth speakers, plugs, lighters, and more are often converted into eavesdropping devices and trackers. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi appears to be moving forward with a controversial trip to Taiwan. The Federal Department of Defense has been developing security plans to protect her. China is still threatening to take military action if she goes. U.S. officials said the administration doubts that China would take direct action against Pelosi herself, but they don't rule out the possibility that China could escalate provocative overflights of military aircraft in or near Taiwanese airspace and naval patrols in the Taiwan Strait. And China may act elsewhere in the region to show its strength, according to the Associated Press. Acting Associate Director of the International Security and Defense Policy Center at the RAND Corporation, Mark Kozad, said that the biggest risk during Pelosi's trip is of some Chinese show of force gone awry, or some type of accident that comes out of a demonstration of provocative action. It could be an air collision or some sort of missile test. The official said U.S. plans likely involve sending fighter jets, ships, and surveillance assets to protect her on her flights to and from Taiwan, as well as on the ground. The U.S. aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan and its strike group is currently operating in the Western Pacific and made a port call in Singapore over the weekend. The strike group involves at least 2 other Navy ships and carrier Air Wing 5s, which include FA-18 fighter jets, helicopters, and surveillance aircraft. Prior to pulling into port in Singapore, the strike group was operating in the South China Sea, AP reported. Another Navy destroyer, the USS Benfold, has also been conducting freedom of navigation operations in the region, including a passage through the Taiwan Strait last week. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said the United States military will do what is necessary to ensure a safe trip to conduct U.S. business. Senior Vice President at the Atlantic Council, Barry Pavel, said to USA Today he doesn't believe Beijing would rev up its military in response to Pelosi's trip due to the 20th Chinese Communist Party Congress in November. Xi Jinping is expected to seek an unprecedented third term as China's leader. If Pelosi's trip is confirmed, she would be the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Taiwan in over 20 years. Recently, an adenovirus outbreak was reported in Sichuan province, China. More than 100 children developed high fever and other symptoms after swimming in a public pool in the city of Leshan. In response, the Leshan city government shut down the pool on the evening of July 24th and launched an investigation. Nearly 150 children were tested, but the results strangely said the disease has only infected 2 of them so far. Adenovirus is a virus that often causes respiratory tract infections in children. It can also cause pharyngeal, conjunctival fever, keratoconjunctivitis, gastroenteritis, and diarrheal. Serious cases can turn fatal. Adenovirus is highly contagious and occurs most often in children 6 months to 5 years of age. Infants and toddlers under 2 are particularly vulnerable. According to media reports, a parent who wished to remain anonymous, Mr. Wang, reported that his child felt sick after swimming in the Xingyuedong swimming pool. The child had a fever and coughed for several days. Doctors diagnosed a viral infection after Mr. Wang took the child to the hospital. Mr. Wang also met more than 10 parents at the hospital who had children with similar symptoms. Parents at the swimming pool started a voluntary log of children with symptoms. More than 140 children registered as of July 25th. The earliest cases can be traced back to early July. The Chinese Communist Party launched the double reduction policy last year, which targets tutoring companies that provide services to students in regular education. It aims to reduce the burden of homework and off-campus training for students. Recently, Shanghai English language media, Sixth Tone, reported that since the double reduction was implemented, the tutoring industry has not disappeared, but has spawned a vast black market. Social disparities are expected to grow. An anonymous parent, Ms. Wu, said that after the double reduction came into effect, she and 2 other families found an English foreign teacher for their children and took 1 to 3 tutoring classes. She said that the double reduction policy has made the tuition fee higher. In the past, the tuition fee for an English class was about 20,000 yuan a year, but now it has doubled. The report said that the higher tuition fees are affordable for families with an annual income of 1 million yuan, but most families in Beijing earn a quarter of that. An associate professor at New York University, Cheng Huayu, studies the Chinese education system. He said that the double reduction policy made Chinese parents more anxious, and in the short term, most of the elite middle and upper class families have found a way out. Thank you so much for listening to Sound of Hope News. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you tomorrow.